Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs have plenty of pieces that they need to replace on the offensive side of the football next season. Obviously, Stetson Bennett is gone. You've got to replace him. You've got to replace Broderick Jones at left tackle. That's not going to be easy to do. Darnell Washington at tight end. Not sure they can replace him. Love Oscar Delp and what he brings to the table, but replacing Darnell Washington is going to be tough. But the one guy I think might be the toughest to replace is Kenny McIntosh. He was the leading rusher last year for the Bulldogs, 829 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, but he was also very good in the passing game. He was a reliable weapon out of the backfield, catching the ball. Dude got 43 passes last year, 505 yards, 2 more touchdowns. But this video is about who is going to replace him as the team's leading rusher for next year. Now, you obviously have the 2 top guys, right? The 2 top candidates to replace him as far as leading the team. And that's Kendall Milton and Daijun Edwards, 2 backs from their 2020 class. Both will be in their 4th season in Athens next fall. Last year, Daijun Edwards was 2nd in the team in rushing. He had 771 quiet rushing yards, I think, 7 touchdowns at an average of 5.5 yards per carry. But Kendall Milton, the guy that everyone has been waiting on to have this, breakout season, breakout moment, one of the top running backs out of high school in the 2020 class. When he's healthy and playing his best, it's easy to see why he was a borderline 5-star out of high school and the guy that the staff really, really wanted and pushed for in that class. He's tough, physical, 220 pounds, and he averaged 6.9 rushing yards last season. That is as good as it gets. 590 rushing yards, 3rd on the team last year on just 86 carries, had 8 touchdowns on the ground compared to Daijun Edwards' 7. Now, I do think it's going to be one of those 2 guys, but you can't forget Branson Robinson. What he did last year as the 4th string running back, 68 carries, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. I do expect him to have a bigger role, more carries, more opportunities to shine. He's going to have a bigger role in the offense, but I don't think he's going to be the team's leading rusher. He's got 2 veterans ahead of him, right? And they both have a skill set that you have to like going into next year. Edwards, a shifty, slippery back who can break tackles. He's got vision. He's got burst and gets yards after contact. And every once in a while will flash and give you this, big playability and take off for a run, where he's hit at the line of scrimmage, breaks it, takes off for 15, 20 yards down the field. They like him a lot. There's a reason they gave him the ball 139 times. Kenny McIntosh ran it 149 times, so he only had 10 more rushes than Edwards last year, but he also, of course, had more catches. Someone's going to have to replace that productivity out of the backfield catching the football, but someone's got to be the new leading rusher, right? It could be Edwards, who was 2nd on the team last year. Would make sense that he would be the team's leading rusher next year, but a healthy Kendall Milton for a full year is going to be tough to stop. He is a bowling ball. Again, just big, physical, yards after contact, falls forward at the end of runs. He's great around the goal line. That's not going to help his rushing yards, right? And his yards per attempt, per se, but he's a weapon. And this is going to be his 4th year. And if he's healthy, this should be the year where it's like, wow, this guy is the real deal. He is an NFL running back, the same one we thought out of high school. So he might not get the touches necessarily because I think Daijun Edwards is going to replace some of that productivity catching the football. I think he's going to lead the running backs in receptions next year. But so if we're talking overall yards between rushing and receiving, give me Daijun Edwards. But it would not surprise me at all if Kendall Milton was the guy who got more carries, not touches, but carries, and ended the season with more yards. I think he's going to have more touchdowns because he's just so good around the goal line, getting hit at the 3, the 2, the 1, and powering his way into the end zone. That's just what he does. He's a big physical dude. And, I've talked in other videos about the strength of this running back room. They're all bruisers. These are guys who are 220 plus. I think Daijun Edwards at like 215, I think, is the lightest back on the roster right now. They've got 4 guys who are going to break tackles and get yards after contact and keep the chains moving. But we've seen with Kendall Milton at times at, the Mississippi State game where he can bust a long run. And if there's a seam, he can get through it and take off. He doesn't have breakaway speed, but if he hits the hole and the plays are blocked correctly, there's going to be a lot of room to run, and he has enough speed to pick up big yards. He's not going to, give you an 80-yard touchdown consistently, but, as we've seen him bust through the hole and fly past these linebackers and then have enough speed to keep those defensive backs from chasing him down. So, again, they rushed as a team last year. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I thought I did, but they ran the ball, like crazy. Again, Kenny McIntosh, 830 yards. Daijun Edwards, 770 yards. Kendall Milton, just under 600 yards. Branson Robinson, 330. So they are running through teams, and it's going to be the same way next year. A lot of carries for these guys collectively. Roderick Robinson, the incoming freshman, he's at 230. He's going to get those carries that Branson Robinson did at the end of last year. Kind of those, blowout games, garbage time games, if you want to call it like that. He's going to get his carries, but these three guys, I think, have a special year waiting ahead of them. And again, they're a little different, especially these top two. Daijun Edwards can make a guy miss, in space a little bit more than Kendall Milton can. He can change directions a little quicker, a little more burst, a little more speed. So he is a guy who, again, he could be the team's leading rusher last year. I wouldn't put it past him. Again, at the end of the day, it's going to be down to those two, right? So you can make the case for Kendall Milton. You can make a case for Daijun Edwards. Carson Beck is going to need these guys. He is not the runner that Stetson Bennett was. So, Stetson ran the ball 57 times, 205 yards, 10 touchdowns. So I don't see Carson Beck rushing for 10 touchdowns. I know a lot of those, touchdown runs by Stetson were around the goal line. He did have that monster run against Auburn, through their defense like a knife through butter. Was it 50, 60 yards? Carson Beck's not going to give you that type, but for the attempts that Stetson had at the goal line, those are going to go to other guys. So you're going to see more from Kendall Milton, Daijun Edwards, and Branson Robinson too. That's a three-headed monster. That's probably the best three-headed monster in the SEC as far as running back goes. And I do think that they have one of the best running back rooms in the country once again. But replacing Kenny McIntosh's productivity out of the backfield is going to be tough, but you have to replace his 830 yards on the ground and some of his 500 yards through the air as a receiver. And again, you can replace Stetson Bennett. It's not going to be easy, but you can replace him with a guy like Carson Beck, who a lot of people think is bound for a breakout year. It's his fourth year. A lot of people have a lot of high expectations for Carson. Replacing Darnell Washington with Oscar Delp is, it's not going to be, again, it's not going to be easy, but Oscar can play. I don't know if he's going to bring that same ability that Darnell did. Then replacing Broderick Jones, maybe Ernest Green, maybe Amarius Mims goes to that left tackle spot. So, but at the end of the day, for the guys that leave, you got to have 5 and 4 stars replacing them. And, Georgia's got some backs. Again, one of the best running back rooms in the country. And I think it's up for debate who is going to be the lead back, the lead dog. Is it Daijun Edwards? Is it Kendall Milton? Could it be Branson Robinson? I don't think it's going to happen. I think he has enough talent, and I think 2024 is going to be the year where he breaks out, his third year. When those two gone, Branson Robinson should be the lead back, and I expect him to have a very, very good career. I expect him to probably go over 500 yards, maybe close to 600 rushing yards next year, but I don't think he's going to lead the team. It's going to be Kendall Milton. It's going to be Daijun Edwards, two guys that have been in the program a long time now. They know what they're doing, and they can run, and they're physical, and they can break tackles. So who's going to get the most opportunities? Who's going to get the most carries? I think it's up for debate. I think it's going to be something to watch closely. I think odds are it's Daijun Edwards, just as the guy who came in second last year, had second most carries, second most yards. But Kendall Milton, if he is healthy, they're going to want to get the ball in his hands a lot, especially around the goal line, especially on 3rd and short. And occasionally he's going to break some long run. So at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if one of these guys got over 1,000 yards. But if they do, it'll be right there. Maybe another guy has, 750, 800, maybe more than that. But you've got options, and these are really, really good options. And I think you can make the case for either one. We'll see who it comes down to, who is going to be Georgia's leading rusher. I wrote about this over on Dog Post. Want to put this out on YouTube so y'all can leave your comments in the section below. We love reading those. So once again, really appreciate y'all watching these videos in the off season. I know some of these topics can be a little boring at times, a little played out, but we're here to produce content. So even a topic like this that may sound boring, we're here to have conversation with y'all. We want to hear what y'all think as well. Is it Daijun Edwards? Is it Kendall Milton? Who is going to lead the Georgia Bulldogs in rushing in the 2023 season? Leave your answer below. Thanks for watching this video as always, and I will see you over on the website.